Today you're going to learn how to convert the index of any element with real objects, like numbers. So, let's do it. Before we start, it's really important that you have to know that to this tutorial, you need at least Blender 4.3. I repeat, at least Blender 4.3. Now that you know it, let's start. So, let's take the camera, the light, go to Geometry Nodes, and create a new profile. Basically, what we want is to visualize the index of any element. For example, vertex, edges, faces. What we can do is to select an object and press Ctrl, Shift, left click to get the viewer node. And if we want to see the index, we need to use the index node. So let's add index node. And to see the text, the number, we need to go here and select attribute text. And if you click here, you hide the white and black color. Okay, so now we can see the index of the vertex. Auto is the same, that point. And as you can see, we see 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. This is the index of any vertex. And here you have different elements. So we can see the index of the edges, or maybe faces, or face corner, or etc. Or instance, if this was an instance, etc. Okay, now, let's say that now we want to see this text all the time. The problem that we have is that if we disable this, or we delete it, we lose this information, the text, the number. So, how we can show all the time this number? So basically, how we can convert this information in a real object, in a text, in a number, in an instance. So later we can do whatever we want with these objects. So, to do this, what we need is a special node called for each element. But before we do that, we need to convert something to a text. So, let's go here and let's use string to curve to create a text. Let me connect it here for now. Now we don't see anything because we need to write something. For example, hello, how are you? Okay, we have a text. Let's give a mesh to this text with fill curve because this is a curve. And now let's rotate it with transform in this axis because I want this rotation. I want the text up. Okay, now I want to center this text in the center, in the middle. So first of all, here I select center. And if you want to be centered in the middle of this position, you can select here, middle. Okay, we have a text. And now we can change the text here and write whatever you want. Okay, but we want numbers, right? You can write numbers if you want, but how I can say, show me numbers in this object. So if you want to convert values to a string, what we have to do, because you cannot connect directly index here, let's say that we get the index of the cube, of the points, and we want to connect it here. It's impossible. So, because we need to convert this to values. So, we have value to a string. That basically converts a value to a string. So, this can be converted in a curve, instance, etc. And here, we can change the value, right? If you want to see the decimals, then select the number of decimals. Okay, we understand the base. Now, let's see if we can connect this here in value. Let's try it. And error, invalid link. And this is red. Okay, so we have a problem. And why is this happening? This is really easy. Because as you can see, this socket is a diamond. And this one is a cycle. So this is a fill. And this one, no. What does it mean that? That these have a lot of information and not one single number. Remember, we have more than one number. We have 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. And this only accepts one number. It's like, hey, I only want one. I don't want more people, okay? I don't want more numbers. Only one, please. Only one job. So that's why it doesn't work. Because, as it says here, this doesn't support fields. Okay. So, what we can do for this solution, now we have this new node called for each element. But to explain you how this works, I'm going to do a fast tutorial to see the difference between this one and repeat zone and simulation zone. So you understand better the difference between these three zones: repeat, simulation, and for each element. So let's do it easy. And let's connect this here and the output. So let's work with the cube. And let's use transform. Now nothing happens because we add this node and we didn't change anything. So let's add in this axis one value, 1 meter. Okay, so as you can see, basically what is happening is that the cube is being displaced 1 meter in X. If I select 2, true. Okay, we know all this. However, here we have a number, iterations. And if I click here, well, what's going on? It's being displaced twice. And if I click another, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I got it. It's called repeat because basically this zone is repeating any node that you change that is being inserted in the middle of this process. So we select 1 meter displaced in X and it's repeating this action 6 times. So thanks to this, we can change how many times we want to repeat whatever we insert in the middle of repeat zone. Okay, I got it. Perfect. Easy peasy, right? Now, we have this one, simulation zone. So, simulation zone, maybe you are familiar with these nodes because you watch my tutorials, is literally this is the same, but working with the time. Here we are saying how many times we want to repeat an action, and here we don't have this control. Why? Because this works with the times, with the frames. So, if we add this here, let's delete this, you can see that it's being displaced 1 meter. Why? Because, as I said, it worked with frames. And now we are in the frame 1. So it's being moved 1 meter. But if I select the frame 0, it comes back to the original position. And if I press play, it's being moved a lot. Actually, we are getting a simulation, an animation. Why? Because, as you can see, it's adding more and more changes. So every frame is like one iteration. It's like repeating. So it's a repeat zone, but working with time. As easy as that. Got it, right? Perfect. Now, let's see this one. Here we have this, and we have an index. Okay, so let's get this, and connect this here, and this here. And connect this here, and here. Okay, so let's see how this works. We select 1 meter and nothing happens. Interesting. This doesn't work. Why? First of all, I did this on purpose. It's working, but it's really important to understand first of all that there is 2 outputs. So this output is basically doing this. So not showing this, basically not showing any change, anything that is done in for each element. So this output is to show the original object without any change. That's why we don't see anything now. However, this one is the real one to show any change that have been done here. So let's check it. Okay, I got it. Perfect. So you have 2 options to show, and you can join this with a join geometry. Now, let's say 1, like before. And why I don't see the cube? Why I see points? That's interesting, right? Because for each element, as the name says, it works with elements. What is an element? Element is all this. Remember, point, edge, face corner, spline, instance, layer, etc. So right now, it's just working with a point. So what is really important to understand is that you cannot select all the objects at the same time. What I mean, all the points, edges, faces. It's just selecting elements, one single element, and working with this one. So that's why we see only points. Okay. And you can see that this is working, right? Okay, Shan, I got it. Let's close this. But I still don't get it. Don't worry. Let's do something. Let's select 1. Actually, I want to isolate only the x-axis. This one, right? Okay. So here you can select, as I said, any element. If I select edges, we are working with edges. If I select face, face. So let's select faces. Now we are working only with faces, not with all the cube. Remember, really important. And to apply something, for example, 1 meter, and do something different, from the others, like repeat and simulation zone, as you can see, you have here index and selection. Interesting. And look at this. Index is a cycle. I like this. I like this. We are getting close. So how this works? Basically, we are getting the index of each element of we are working. So, for example, the face. And if we connect this here, boom, this happens. The cube has been destroyed, split in the axis X. So to understand this, let me visualize the index like before, but from the face, okay? So now we can see the index of each face. So basically, what is happening, it's easy, is that for each index of every face, because now we're working with face, is being displayed with the same number. So the face number 0, the index is 0, so it's being displayed 0 meters. Okay. And the face number 1, this 1, is being displayed 1 meter. Okay, I got it. And the face number 2, that looks like it didn't move, actually it hasn't moved because it was here. Okay, it was here. I did 1 and 2. And the same with the 3, okay, 4, 5. So basically, thanks to this, now I can hide this, is applying something, but when we use index, okay, if you don't use index, it's the same, like not using this, look, it's the same, okay, but the power of for each element is the index, okay, is the index. Remember this, it's really important. Now, as I said, we have this like a cycle, not like a field. So, before we had a problem, do you remember here? That this was a diamond, a field, and this doesn't accept field. But maybe now, this guy is going to accept the other guy. So let's check it. Let's move this. I'm going to drag this. And before we connect this, let's try to select point, because now we are working with points. And let's try to instance points, okay? With instance on points. And if I select, for example, points, we're instancing points on the points in the vertex. Okay. But I don't want points. I want to show numbers. So let's delete this. And now let's connect this here. And now we are seeing this because here we have this number, okay? So it's repeating the number for each instance. However, now comes the best part. Let's try this, please. It works, please, please, please. Actually, I know it works, but I'm going to show you. Let me just do some drama, some hype. So let's connect this here and see what is going to happen. 1, 2, bam! It's working! Of course it's working. Because, as I said, this is not a field, it's a single number. It's like these have the power to remember each index separately. So you can connect this information, for example, now in value to string. And this is really powerful because with this simple setup, remember, this is just, actually I'm going to cycle this and do a group. So this is just to convert a text, okay? Value to text. So with this and this, we can visualize the index of each point. There's something really important. If you select, for example, face, you will have this problem that all the numbers are being overlapped in the same position because we are instancing points on vertex. So if you want to show the number of faces, then you need to instance points on faces. How? You need to use mesh to points. This one. And if you get it like that, it's the same because we are using vertices, but if you select faces, now we are instancing points on faces. Okay? And if you want to, for example, see it in corners, we have corners, and if it was, for example, an instance, actually we don't need that, but you get the idea, okay? Edges. By the way, if this happens, it's because you need to set the same. So edges, edges, okay? Really important. Face, face. Point, there is no point to select this, okay? Okay, I got it. Okay, now let's try to join these numbers with the original object. So let's use join geometry because we want to join both. Remember, this one is the original object without any modification, and this is whatever we did here. Okay, however, we are facing a problem. As you can see, we are overlapping the numbers. So we need to move these numbers. First of all, if you want to control the size, here, remember, if we enter in the group, we have the size here, as you can see. So what I can do is to connect the size in this input. So now I can control from here the size. Okay. Now, to move this, what we have to do is to use set position, because we want to move these numbers. But what I want, for example, is to move it in this direction. So out in the normals of this object, right? So to do this, what we have to do is to sample the original object and get the normal. So let's use sample index. And what we want to get the normal. So a vector, and we want the normal. And we want to connect it here in offset. Let's try to see what happens. Okay, it's been offset in this direction because we are not using index correctly. So we need to say offset each point, each number with each index. Let's try to use index node. As you can see, it doesn't work because we don't have to use this one. As we are working inside this, we need to use this one, okay? Very important. And now it's working. We are pushing the numbers in the normal of the original object. Now in the normals of each point. And you can scale this with a beautiful vector math scale. Let's select scale. And we can make the numbers more far away or closer. And that's how we do this effect. Remember, I'm just sampling the original object, the normal, and connecting the index for each element, and just scaling this vector, the normal. If you don't want to use the normal, what you can do is use its position. So it's the same, but what you can do instead of using scale is to use add, and now you can move it in this direction, on this one, or this one. So use the one you prefer, normal or position. And remember, we can use this for any object. For example, let's use an ecosphere. And let's see what happens. Let's print it here. As you can see, it's working perfectly. I can make this bigger and the numbers smaller. And if I want the numbers closer with the scale, as you can see, actually, let's do something. Let's add a material for the numbers, set material, and one for the object. Default material, and let's go to shade editor. This one will be the numbers material. So let's leave it in white, and let's create a new material for the object. And let's select black so we can see the contrast between the numbers and the object. Let's come back to the viewport and let's select this view. And of course, I have to select the object texture. And now in theory, we can see better the contrast, as you can see. And if we add more subdivisions, we get more numbers. Of course, the rotation of the number depends of this rotation, the one that we have here, remember. So one trick that you can do if you have the camera and if you want always the numbers facing the camera, this is a pro tip. So we need a camera, first of all. Let's use camera and let's select this view. Okay, now we are inside the camera, and what I want is that the numbers, actually, let's move the camera so we can see the change. I want the numbers facing the camera. So let's come back here, and we need to do something with that, right? So we need the object info of the camera. Let's select the camera, and you need to do two things. It's really simple. You need to connect here align rotation to vector, and it's as simple as connecting this here and this location here. Boom, and that's all. And if you don't believe me, look, I'm going to move the camera, remember? As you can see, the numbers always are facing the camera. This is a pro tip, so I recommend you to use it if you want. If not, don't use it. Just set the rotation that you want, it's okay. But I'm going to leave it like this. And remember, this only works when you are in the camera, okay? If I go out of the camera, it's not working. But when you are in the camera, it's working perfectly. Only with this. And remember here, we can make it bigger or scale it. As you can see, this works for any object. Let's try with a grid. Grid, and let's connect it here. And let's make it bigger. And okay, now we are scaling this, so maybe I can move this. Or let's use, for example, of course, I'm using offset, so if I connect it here, it's not being offset. Sorry, a mistake that I forgot. And you can use this to scale the position. I'll just leave it like that. And remember, or what you can do is to change to add, and we can lift this number like this. If you add more vertices, remember to decrease the size. And also what you can do is to add numbers to instants. So let's convert this to points. Distribute points on faces. Let's decrease this number. For example, something like this. Maybe I'm going to use Poisson disk. So now we have a number for every object, every point. We have points, but later we can instance any object. So you can show the number of the object, as you can see. So this effect is really cool to create these numbers. To create these numbers floating on the top of the object. So I hope you learned something new today, and if you like this video, I will appreciate a lot that you give a like, and remember to subscribe if you are not, and you can do this project and many more on my Patreon. And see you in the next tutorial.